Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to episode 6 of the Bush League Huddle podcast. I am Fabio. I am joined by my esteemed colleagues, Raj and Anthony, also known as Knack. How are you guys doing tonight? Roger, how are you? First of all, before we get into it, I want to make something very clear right now. Ladies and gentlemen, our commitment to this podcast cannot be understated. Mr. Roger is coming live from the 305. He's in Florida. He's on vacation with his family. The kids are asleep. He's here recording the podcast on a Sunday night. Roger, how you doing, bud? How you doing?
I hope the I,
He's
I hope
representing
the
too.
kids are asleep. I believe they are. I left and they sounded asleep, but we'll know when I get back. I'm doing great. As Fab said, the podcast never sleeps. We are gonna come at you every week or every 2 weeks. Whether there's vacation, whether there's hurricanes, whether there's natural disasters, we will be there. Otherwise, I'm doing great. I feel a bit burnt. It's not easy going on vacation with two toddlers. As Knack will know, it's not really a vacation; it's more of a trip. But it's a
Yeah,
blessing. They're having a blast, and it's good to have some time off from the day to day.
but wait a second. You said you left them. Where are you right now then?
Uh,
You're not in the same, you're not in the
no,
house?
so my in laws have they have a condo here, and there's like this lounge area that I was able to ask the security guard if I could use to record.
Oh,
There's no chance I would record in the same area. So I
okay.
have this nice little piano here. There's
Nice.
nice little bookshelf.
Nice,
There's a
nice, nice.
there's a TV. There's a TV as well.
Oh,
So
excuse
it's a
us.
nice
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
nice cute little lounge.
it's a nice setup. Yeah, I think they do like I'm sure there's like Italian association parties that happen here. So
Nice,
Very
nice,
nice.
yes,
nice,
Very
nice,
nice.
yes,
nice.
yes, yes, yes.
And you're representing too at the same time. Got to represent when you're down there.
Oh,
Oh.
oh.
Is that still allowed? Is
I
that not a
almost
microaggression?
no, it's dude, no, dude, no. You don't
Nah.
no. That's the Seminoles, man. Like
Yeah.
I'm not going to speak for the natives. Carry on.
No,
I
no.
shouldn't speak for the natives.
This podcast is not taking place on a sacred land. Hey, moving on. Shout out to Knack's mom, real quick. Knack's mom for talking trash and representing Habs Nation over there. We appreciate your comment on our last video. Thank you very much, Mama Nacarado. It's always wonderful when we get that the little spice to our comments in there. And speaking of which, Raj, I also want to check in on you. How you doing, bud? With the Leafs being down in the series, are you okay, or do you want to talk about that? Or do you want to move on to the segment?
No, let's no, let's move on. I haven't had the time to watch, and
That's okay.
I'm kind of a Habs fan, anyways. I'm splitting hairs at this point in terms of my
Here
fandom.
we go. Here we
So
go.
yeah,
Here we
here we
go.
go.
Well, I mean, if you haven't been watching, I've definitely been watching, and man, they're really getting their butts kicked, man. It's like night, like they don't even seem like they
Guy,
belong in the same category as the Bruins. And I don't know what it is, but Matthews had that one good game, and him and Marner just like, dude, in the playoffs they come and. I guess all that swagger that they have just disappears in in the playoffs because man, it's
Did you guys see?
guys,
Did you guys
I
see Nylander ripping into Marner on the bench?
yeah, stop
it was
crying. I
beautiful.
heard about that. Stop crying.
Yeah, stop crying. It's not Junior. Yeah, no,
Guys, I
get
put the
Marner.
Bruins in my office pool. Like
You're smart.
like for the entirety of the office pool, I randomized it because I barely watched hockey, but I made sure to put Bruins instead of
Yeah, you're
Leafs.
smart.
Yeah, no,
You're
you can
smart.
never count out the Bruins. Year in, year out. You can never count them out. But so, tidbit, real quick. I spent the day in Plattsburgh today. Went shopping at Target, which is a wonderful, wonderful American pastime. Did you guys know that when so I went to the duty free, bought a bottle of alcohol, passed into the states for the day with me and my girlfriend. I was there with Guido and Rachel and the whole family and everything. It was a wonderful time. On the way back, I had to declare that bottle of alcohol, which I had bought in Canada, and then pay 130% tax on that bottle, which I didn't do. I ended up like having to run across 3 lanes from the customs office to back to the duty free to get my money back. I was going to pay $140 of tax on a $60 bottle of alcohol. Like, am I the only idiot that's ever happened to?
I
Nice.
yeah,
Yes.
I've never bought something from duty free and then gone like across the border.
No, no, you mean you've never
Like,
brought it back within
yeah,
the
and
same
even
day,
yeah, that too. Yeah,
or
Yeah.
yeah,
really
that
brought it
too.
back. It's
Yeah, I found out the hard way that
yeah,
the whole
just
0 hours, zero, like if you're not spending more than 48 hours in the States at a time, like that $0 that you could bring back as far as taxes are concerned, like applies to even the stuff at duty free. Found that out the hard way. So just fair warning to all of our wonderful listeners out there.
what's the taxes that you paid on
We
the goods?
spent,
Just to know, like,
I think it was equivalent to about 700 Canadian, and we paid $100 in taxes. So it wasn't
okay.
horrible. It was, and I think if you were, because my girlfriend overheard a lot of people um, doing groceries in the States, which is really common, right? And they didn't pay. They paid a lot. I think they paid less taxes than what I did because I was buying mostly goods and stuff. Like I bought curtains for my house. But anyways, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. So just to bear in mind to all of our listeners out there, don't buy booze if you're going in and out in the same day. You're gonna get clipped on taxes. But moving on, guys. Finally, the draft is over. It was a long road after many long weeks, mock drafts, prospect mapping. We were looking at diving into stats, and we were doing so much work in the last few weeks on our own podcast, and even looking at all the mock drafts that all the other pundits were doing. Draft is finally done. 2024 is in the books. It was stressful, but I could sleep better at night. I have a few questions I want to hit to you guys over here. Yeah, no, because I never want to see Mel Kiper again personally until next year, but that's just me. Um,
I don't ever pay attention to Mel
Mel
Kiper.
Kiper is like 2010, man. There's like way better draft prospects than Mel Kiper these
There's
days.
your
Don't
your your
listen to
boy
him.
is Daniel
No wonder
Jeremiah.
Fab was getting so excited every
That's
2
why
days.
he thought Jimmy Clausen was going to be good.
Here we go.
He thought Jimmy
Yeah.
Clausen. He literally said on his on ESPN,
Yeah,
Rosen,
Rosen. Yeah,
remember
he
Josh
a
literally said
lot
Rosen?
a
he
lot
said
of
on
guys
Guy on
ESPN.
drugs.
had Rosen high though. Like not to take anything, not to not knock on
He
Kuiper there,
was
but like
he was good in college.
yeah,
He was good
yeah.
in college. Yeah.
But speaking of, I guess this is a good segue. Raj, like who do you think was the biggest winner of the draft based on what you saw?
So I have some I have quite a few winners. I'm gonna just go with the quick hitting winners if I can. Pat McAfee, Bill Belichick. I know we watched the draft at my place, and I was able to catch some clips on McAfee and Belichick. I thought they were fantastic. Um, White players with legit athleticism, big win for them this year. And because typically the white player is like, oh, he's a slot receiver. Oh, he's gritty. Cooper DeJean, Ricky Purcell, Luke
Yep.
McCaffrey, Lad McConkey are dogs and they're legit athletes. And I'm glad to see that they get their due, that they're not just, the white slot receiver. Like Cooper DeJean should play corner. Ricky Purcell, Lad McConkey, they're legit ballers. They could play anywhere on the field. And the last,
Did you if I just stop you right there, did you see that reporter what he said to Cooper DeJean? There was a reporter that asked him, "Oh, typically, not many white guys excel
Oh
in
my
your
god,
field. It's usually
it's
more black
stupid.
that's so
cornerbacks." And
stupid.
I'm like,
It's
"What the fuck? Like, how do you
Yeah,
ask a
and to me,
guy
like,
that?"
look, it goes both ways, right? Like, Matt, like if the opposite, like, people would have freaked out, and I hate
Of
those types of
course,
stupid tropes. Like, just let players play, let
Yeah,
their play do the talking, and a lot of them show.
yeah,
like, good on
Yeah,
him.
hundred
Good on
percent.
yeah,
him
I
for
didn't
kind of
hear that.
like,
I didn't hear it,
like,
but
yeah, he
yeah,
answered it and just said, "Look, man, I'm going out there and I'm gonna ball. Like wherever they're gonna put me, they're gonna put me, and I'm gonna play and I'm gonna you know compete on how I'm supposed to compete." Like, good on him for answering that question like he did. But man, that reporter is an idiot.
and the last one, Samoans. Just the last quick hitting
Yeah,
win. Samoans, tons of Samoan players, right? We were all doing
Yep.
the ones
Yep.
for the uses.
no, I wasn't.
But I think my legit winner, I think the Panthers did really well. They had a great offseason because they really get Ray Davis. Those are good value picks. I thought Leggett, a lot of people think he could be a DK Metcalf type. He had really good production at South Carolina. His accent's amazing. I sent the clip in our group chat. Amazing country boy accent. So I think he steps in to help Bryce Young. And excuse me, not Ray Davis, Jonathan Brooks. Jonathan Brooks, running back from Texas. I think he steps in easily as I think the potential starter there. amazing pass blocker. Probably, I think he was rated the top blocker in the draft.
Mhm.
Miles Sanders is notoriously really bad on third downs and as a pass blocking back, and I think he has a great chance to step in. I saw a little stat on Reddit, and it showed the fact that the top two running backs drafted virtually in the last like 10-15 drafts typically end up being the best players. Bijan Gibbs last year, Brees Hall, Kendall Walker, Najee Travis Etienne, Gurley, Melvin Gordon, Zeke, Derrick Henry. So I'm pretty sure Brooks and then Benson are going to have big years, but I really think the Panthers made out really well to improve the surrounding for Bryce Young.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, the pass pro is what's gonna get him on the
Yes.
field
Yeah.
quicker. That's what coaches
Yeah,
want to
no,
see,
I
right?
agree with that 100%. We're going to touch on that a little bit more later on in the pod, though. But Roger, I like where he heads at. I do like Brooks a lot in Carolina. Knack, Roger went over the winners. Who do you think is the biggest loser so far, from what you've seen?
Honestly, I'm gonna go with team versus like individual players. I'm gonna say Atlanta, man. I know they've been getting a lot of flack. I know it's kind of the easy answer, I guess, but I mean, from what how the GM kind of spoke about it too, and talking about, oh yeah, if you know if Penix sits 4 or 5 years behind, whatever, it's a good problem to have, and then comparing it to the Green Bay model. Um, where it was different from Green Bay, Green Bay did not draft Love eighth overall. Um, they had just gone to the NFC Championship game too, so they were able to have that kind of luxury pick in taking Love. Atlanta is nowhere near there. Their last playoff game came when they lost to the Patriots, being up 28-3. Um, they needed a pass rusher. They have dogs on the offensive line. It's top five in the league. They've got weapons all around. They just gave Cousins 100 million guaranteed. He was obviously and notably upset about the move, similar to like how Aaron Rodgers was upset all those years and hey, give me some weapons, you know. But I mean, they could have easily drafted Dallas Turner. Like everyone thought they were going to shore up that defense, and I'm not sure they had the luxury. That wasn't the luxury they needed in Michael Penix. And look, forget which quarterback he was. I know some people had JJ McCarthy above him, and they had second round grades. Whatever you have, your grades is fine, but eighth overall was way too rich for a team that one just signed a quarterback for 4 years, 100 million guaranteed, and really they were, I think, 27th in turnovers last year. So, like, what does Michael Penix do to help? Like, they're gonna hope, they have to hope that their second round guys like Ruka Ororico and Braylon Trice, like, they got to hope that those guys hit because or else that Michael Penix move is gonna look really, really
Yeah, no,
silly.
I don't disagree at all. I thought, and myself and everybody else, I mean, Knack, when you broke the news a little bit, we were watching it at Rogers' house about how Penix was going eighth overall. It's like, what? That makes no sense. And even like to what you said about the GM, Raheem Morris, right? Is that it? Like, yeah, sorry, the
That's the
coach. Well,
coach.
he came out and he said,
Terry Fontenot.
thank you.
Yeah.
He came out and he said that he's going to sit for 4 or 5 years.
No, he came out and said basically like, "Hey, if he comes in here and sits for 4 or 5 years, that means our quarterback room is
Yeah,
in good standing, and it's a good problem to have." And I'm just like, "Wow, you don't want your eighth overall pick to not see the field for 4 or 5 years,
he's not going
especially
to want to sit
he's
for
what,
4 or 5
20?
years either. He's eighth overall, and the guy,
No,
he's also
no,
one of the oldest quarterbacks taken in the draft, right? And not to knock the guy at all, like he's great. He's super.
yeah,
He has a great arm. Like he's a great, highly touted prospect. It's funny because last pod, guys, pod five. If you weren't pod five, episode five, we were saying how for 13 overall, we were 100%. We were 13th overall was too rich, right? And now this guy went eighth. So and he went before JJ McCarthy, which I thought was hilarious because Raj was giving the Giants a lot of flack for not drafting JJ. It's turned out for the best. But
I still am. I still am.
are you not over it anymore? I thought you were.
Who
No.
said it? No, I'm not. But I'm not over it. I've moved on. I will root for neighbor. I mean, my title says it. I would have even preferred Rome over neighbors, but that's for another story. I'll let you carry on.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you on that too. That's you can go, yeah, you can go back and forth on that all day. But yeah, I definitely agree with with Penix being the mark that was missed there for sure. Nike, you wanted to mention something else?
Oh, I just wanted to say, like, we keep saying, like, again, with the too rich part, like, there's always going to be a guy that's going to go higher in the draft just because you're like, okay, well, if I pass on him now, he's not going to be
For
available when I
sure.
get back to my turn. So the eighth overall doesn't really bother me too much, right? Like,
Yeah,
I'd get over it
Yeah,
as wherever, but it's more like, why did Atlanta feel the need to go grab
yeah,
this guy when you like? It just didn't make sense, and like it's 4 years in a row now they grab a skill position, like, in the
it's
top 10. Like,
ridiculous. It doesn't make sense.
guys, like, you
Yeah,
need to
yeah.
shore up your defense
agree.
where it's your huge, like, that's the biggest hole you have. Like, you did everything well to shore up everything else. Everything else is really, really good. Now you had your chance to say, "You know what? Let's get a defensive piece. Let's get a pass rusher. Let's shore up the defense and make a run at this thing, build a team." And they just really failed to do so. So I mean, look, there's going to be there's people that are backing the move, but I
It,
can't. I just looking at it, there's no logical reason why I should be able to back this move.
the dead cap, obviously 2024, 90 million. He's not going to get cut this year. In 2025, this is for Kirk Cousins. For 2025,
Yeah,
65 million, 2026, 35 million. So this is at least 3 years. Granted, Russell Wilson, no one expected him to be released after 2 years. You never know. But Kirk Cousins, as a profile, his profile as a quarterback is way higher than what Russell Wilson's is. They're basically the same age for the most part. So he's not. Penix isn't seeing the field for
No,
until at least 2027, and I tried to rationalize it, but ultimately it doesn't make sense. If I, can I add a loser? If
yeah. Go
you
ahead.
guys don't mind, I want to point out as a loser Nak's ability to tell apart white people and mixed race people. Nak called Roman Wilson a white Deontay Johnson, which was amazing.
yeah, yeah. It was that I guess I saw some pictures where he was very. I guess he looked a little lighter, and I jumped the gun, and then Roger
It was
Roger sent
I
me a
was
picture
dying.
with his
Oh, dude,
interracial
I was
family,
dying. It was the
and
best.
yeah, I felt a little bad. I felt a little bad about that, but I'm stoked for this
Nak
guy.
is great.
So as you'll most likely probably hear later on, but I'm definitely stoked for for Roman Wilson. We have all
It's
the
amazing.
Wilsons now. We have all kinds of Wilsons
That's
on the
amazing.
team.
Well, I 100% agree with all you guys. I think
Mm.
the Cardinals actually had a great draft. I mean, they had a slew of draft picks this year as well. But like, apart from the Marvin Harrison Jr. pick, which was fantastic, they really hit really well on their defensive line and their defense in general. They shore up their offensive line too, and they got a fantastic running back in at the top of the third round there, Trey Benson, which we're going to touch on later on too. But I really like Arizona with the direction that they're going this year. I think there's a lot of weapons on that offense to be excited about from a fantasy perspective, and just football in general. I think if you're a Cardinals fan right now, it's exciting time. Yeah, for me, those were the ones that really stood out. And Rod, you mentioned Carolina. Agree 100%. But Nak, we're gonna keep it on the QB discussion, and we're going to keep it more towards the fantasy perspective of it. So now there's a few rookie QBs that were taken pretty high, a few rookie QBs that really took the spotlight this year. Like out of all those that were taken, out of all the ones that went in the first round or even later on too in the draft, which rookie QB are you most likely to target next year from a fantasy draft perspective, and why?
Well, I mean, I guess the obvious answer is Caleb Williams. I don't think that anyone could ignore that, especially with what that wide receiver room looks like, and especially all the weapons he has around him. Pretty hard to kind of fail in that scenario. You've got blankets everywhere. You've got Keenan Allen. You've got DJ Moore. They drafted Rome Dunze. That backfield is stacked. Who's the tight end that they got there? Is it Komet
It's
still?
Komet and it's
Komet and yeah,
And
Komet
Everett.
Komet and
Everett.
and
Everett,
Everett.
I think.
Yeah,
Didn't they
Yeah.
bring in Everett as well? So they've got more
Mhm.
weapons there. Looking at it, I'm looking at Fantasy Pros, and they have him rated at 12th QB, ahead of Tua, Justin Herbert,
Yeah.
Goff, and Lawrence. Uh, I personally, without watching him play it down in the NFL, I don't know if I'm going to draft all of him before all of the guys I just mentioned. They're in the same tier, kind of. So right above him would be Brock Purdy
Yeah.
and Jordan Love. So I'm a little bit skeptical of maybe, you know, the production is there, right, for QBs like Tua, Justin Herbert, Goff, Lawrence. Even I'm scared to maybe take him in the top 12, but I wouldn't shy away from going in that top 15 range with high upside, right? Like I don't know if I'm there yet with, like, he's not my QB1, right? Like if you have him as your QB1, you're he may get there at the end of the year. I'm not saying he won't, but I'd be hard pressed to kind of really go QB1. Caleb Williams hasn't seen a snap in the NFL, but that would be the main one I'd be targeting, and then obviously you'd have kind of Jalen Daniels next, and I think the others I don't think I'm touching at all. I don't even think any of the other ones are going to start besides maybe Bo Nix, but I wouldn't touch Bo Nix right now.
So I
Yeah. No.
in our draft in our league last year, I picked CJ Stroud in the 11th. Bryce Young also went in the 11th. And if you look at Compass and ADP rankings and super flexes, Young and Stroud were 18th and 21st in terms of like QB rankings. So I I'd be hard pressed to think that Caleb won't go fourth or fifth round. Personally, I think a lot of people are going to bite on him, and I think in the grand scheme of our pod, and I think I've been a lot more optimistic on rookies than you guys have been, but that situation is really good. And I think what we've seen from like the some of the top QBs that have come out of the rookie draft, I'd be hard pressed to think that fourth or fifth round he's not he'll still be there. I'd be shocked if he's still there in at least our league, and I think a lot of other leagues as well. The hype is too big, and the supporting cast is so strong.
Yeah. No. I definitely agree. It's He's really coming into a great situation. It's one of the it's in the most recent memory. It's one of the QBs that's really coming in and rising up of draft boards. You did mention CJ Stroud. I think the comparables are there. I like 12th is very high for me. 12th overall. I do like you're looking at his comparables and like for other guys are being drafted. Like I would prefer to take Jared Goff instead. I would prefer to take Kirk Cousins instead. But the rushing upside for Caleb does it's just because there's a higher floor. It's a little bit of a safer bet. I'm not knocking the guy. He hasn't played a single down in the NFL yet, right? You don't know how that's going to translate, regardless of being first overall with all that supporting cast or not. You kind of want to have those proven commodities at the QB spot. I think as a QB2, it's very exciting. But who I'm actually interested in, which I think you can get him at a deeper discount and still have decent production for a rookie, is actually JJ McCarthy, just because of the situation he's going into as well. He might not necessarily, and this is all conjecture. We have no idea, obviously. We don't know if he's going to be starting day one. They might throw in Sam Darnold and then JJ come in later on too. You think it's going to, actually, you're nodding your head. You think JJ's going to start day one? Yeah.
No, no, no,
No,
he's
he's
not going
not.
to
I don't
start
think
day
so
one.
either.
There's no chance in hell unless Darnold
Yeah.
tears his ACL or something happens to him in camp. There's no chance that JJ
Okay.
McCarthy's starting. I don't see it. He'd have to really, really outperform a guy that apparently everyone says in practice is like the best guy on the field. So if you're doing the eye test like that, I think Darnold has the inside track
Yeah.
without a doubt. Like I said, in my mind, the only two that are starting is Caleb and Jaden Daniels because there's just really no
Yeah.
one else there.
Yeah.
Um, New
He's not going
England
to
with
start.
May, uh, he's not starting.
I was going to say
Actually,
Bo
Bo Nix.
Nix. Yeah.
Sorry, Bo Nix
Yeah.
Yeah,
could beat
they have
out.
no choice now.
Look, I'm
Yeah.
not, no, no, but I'm not saying he's definite, but he has out of all the other ones not named
Mm-hmm.
Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, he's the only one I think that has a legitimate shot of beating out. Because bro, that room is what Jared Stidham,
Ben DiNucci.
Zach Wilson, and Ben
That is
DiNucci.
a
Like I don't know, man. They spent a 12th overall pick on you. I think he
that is a
probably beats
vanilla
So
you.
room right
what
there.
do
Let
you
me
where do
tell
you
you.
Better chance.
where do you guys think Daniels will go? Because the like I looked into it the last time like a dual threat QB was taking that high in the real draft was Kyler Murray, and I looked at our league, the Bush League, back in that year. Marco picked him fifth in the fifth round. That's like a real dual threat guy who can has like 3,000, 1,000 potential. Where do you guys think he could go this year?
But I think all of those guys, like there's about 20 QBs at least get drafted in the first 5 rounds, right? 15 minimum in the first 5 rounds. Like a lot of people go QB. A lot of people their third pick go QB. Like there's a lot of
I
QBs pick. I think fifth round is
Yeah,
definitely
I
Yeah,
agree.
realistic. Right now they have them on Fantasy Pros. They have them at 18 in front of Matt Stafford, Aaron
ranking, right?
Rodgers, and Baker.
Yeah,
Ranking,
ranking.
ranking, yeah.
Which again,
Matt
you see the
Stafford.
rushing upside is baked into those ranks, though.
So he's right after
Yeah.
Kirk
No,
Cousins.
those rushing stats are really
It's after
they're baked
Deshaun
into the rankings
Watson.
right
It's
now,
like
and you can see
And,
why. But I
and,
like Jaden Daniels too having a decent
and
season, though. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility.
and Cliff Kingsbury was Kyler Murray's coach.
Yes.
He's Jaden
Yeah.
Daniels OC for the
mhm.
Commanders.
That entire coaching staff right now is
Yeah.
very
The only
exciting for Washington and that team. Like they're making all the right moves in my opinion. I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants finish last in that
Yeah.
division and like Washington has a very very decent season because the pieces are
Let's
there
hope. Let's
again.
hope so. Let's hope so. Let's
yeah.
hope so. Considering you didn't want a QB, so let's hope
It's
they're
not that I
they're
didn't
actually
want
the
a
best.
QB. I don't want JJ McCarthy. I don't want a JJ McCarthy. What, we want to have this conversation on? You want to hash it out, Raj? Is that what you want to do? You all the way in 305
Let's
feeling
do it.
spicy? Black?
Let's do it.
I love
Let's
I
do it.
love
Let's
you
do it.
guys are both
Let's do
Giants
it.
fans, and you could be
Let's do it.
you could be so different on what your
I'm not.
views are for team. It's actually it's so fun to
The
see. It's
only
actually
my
really
only
fun
argument
to
is that I'm
see
not
the
saying Jaden Daniels. No, sorry, Daniel McDaniels. What's his name again? There, Daniel Jones.
January, guys, his
Daniel
interview is
Jones.
so bad. I'm sorry. Like his interview is horrible. Like he didn't look enthused at
yeah.
all to be a Giant either.
No,
Like
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow, would
exactly.
you?
And I don't blame the
well,
guy, but
Fab would love to be a Giant
100% it would be a giant.
Yeah, for
with
But
sure.
that
like,
roster.
For sure.
My
If
my
if I
my
could
only
if
my only argument about this is that
yeah,
this might be the best opportunity for the Giants to pick a QB that high, and the wide receiver class was really deep. And
hmm
so even if maybe Fab, you're not as thrilled about JJ McCarthy, a lot of scouts did see him as a high upside QB. And I think as a prospect, he was more advanced than what Daniel Jones was. Daniel Jones came on really, really, really late. For the entire college football season, everyone had JJ McCarthy as a first rounder. Some had him maybe
and he would have
Mm,
sat this year too,
JJ
right?
came
He
on
would have
very
exactly,
sat.
late too. At the
exactly.
no. JJ come on very
No,
late too. Yes, yes, yes. In the very beginning,
I was
he was prospect as a
absolutely
second round pick. Rob, he was.
no, absolutely not. No, if you're
No,
talking
Yeah.
he was never a
if
But
you're
second
we were
talking
rounder.
about
having
Mel
Raj, you
Kiper
and I were
Jr.,
having
I
a
know
conversation.
Mel Kiper Jr. Sure,
We're having a conversation about like, hey, imagine we get the neighbors in the first and then JJ in the second. That'd be fantastic. Like he was not mocked at all until the very end, which
Dane Brugler from the
happened.
Athletic, Todd McShay, all of like the
Yeah,
top guys that they were all saying he was at
yeah.
least mid to low first round, not second round. But I digress. You're
Okay,
misremembering. It's okay.
okay. I'm not misremembering. I remember these conversations very clearly. Anyways, I just don't think that we'd be better off today with JJ McCarthy as a quarterback and not having decent and not having serious
It's
wide
not about today
receivers
though.
than having Daniel Jones. Let me finish my thought. I would continue to rebuild, and next year is a new year. Arch Manning is also going to be in the pipeline too in a few years or in a year
Mhm.
from now.
You're gonna
Shadur
get Shadur
Sanders.
Sanders
I'm
next
just
year.
saying
That's who
we're
you're gonna
we're
get next year.
Not
I don't
today.
want to like sell like they wanted to
If
they
Prime
wanted
lets
to
him
trade
go
up and
there.
draft Drake May. I was all for that. The price was too high, no problem. I get it. You get neighbors, you get other pieces to the puzzle, and next year you look for another quarterback again. And it's not as if you can't sign a quarterback. Look what Atlanta did and sign Kirk Cousins. It's not that's not impossible. You're not going to tell me that there won't be any quarterbacks to be available, not maybe not next year or the year after. They'll be looking for a payday. Thank you very
Dak
much.
Prescott.
Like just to say, it's not. Listen,
Yuck.
is it better than
Dak
Daniel Jones?
Prescott?
Yes. Do I want Dak
You want
Prescott?
Dak?
No. I'm just throwing out names out
Okay.
there that are better than what we have that we can pay. I'm not
Okay.
going to pay the guy 55 million.
My God, you could go. How long is that list? Better than what you
Thank
have? You could go
you,
on for
thank
three
you. That's
days.
all I'm saying. There's other avenues to getting a quarterback that they want. Watch Drew Lock start and have an amazing season.
Okay.
3,000 yards and 900 yards
dude.
rushing, the same as Daniel Jones. And then next year he's done.
Dude, you're going in circles, but you're going
It's
in absolute
crazy.
circles, man. Like
I'm just happy we got neighbors.
Drew
That's what I want
Lock,
to
Dak
say.
Prescott, Shedeur Sanders, Eli
You notice I
Manning.
didn't say Daniel Jones once. I'm just said that my point is the same. You couldn't trade up to get Drake May, the guy that they wanted. I don't think JJ McCarthy was the answer long term. I don't think he would have been leaps and bounds better to the point where he's going to be your franchise quarterback going forward. That was my take. That was my 2 cents, and I've been pretty steadfast on
You're
that since
hosting
the
today.
beginning.
You're hosting today.
Hmm.
You're hosting today, so I'll let you have the last word.
No, that's all.
I,
But that that's
if I
I'm
may,
allowed to have an opinion on JJ McCarthy. I hope the guy does well, and I hope I'm
Yeah.
wrong, just for him. But at the same time,
if
I think it was the better
if I
move
may
going
though,
forward. If it was Drake May, I guess the price was way too high. Like this isn't Kevin Costner in draft day, and they're trading away like 3 first round picks here. This is the reality of it.
honestly, I think he not for nothing. I think he went into the best situation. I think he's got the best chance to succeed where he is right now. His coach is a QB
True,
guru, so
true.
um,
Agreed.
I think it's a better situation than the sinking
I'm not
ship
going to
in New
argue with that
York.
on what they're on there. So there's our QB discussion. We're going to move on to running backs right now. Roger, we're going to keep the hot mic over there with you, with the Mr. Florida State Seminoles over there. Raj, we touched on Carolina at the beginning of the episode. Jonathan Brooks, he got drafted in the 2024 draft. How do you feel about that? You did touch on it before, but like, what's your sentiment? Where do you think he's going to be going next year?
Yeah, I think eighth round. Yeah, I think eighth round. I think makes sense for rookie running backs that are not first rounders that still have some potential competition. Even though I'm super high on him, I think the competition that he does have, Miles Sanders and Chuba Hubbard are they're bid players. They gave Sanders a lot of money. I think it was like 3 years, 20 million, and he shot the bed last year. Hubbard had to come in and played a lot of snaps, but ultimately he's just not good on third down. He's not good as a pass protector. Kind of overrated also as a pass catcher. He had that one good year in Philly, and then otherwise he's mostly been mediocre on the receiving end. And Brooks, he has the ACL tear. I'm not entirely sure if he's scheduled, like what's his schedule like for from a rehab perspective, but super talented running back, has juice, cut back ability, can take it deep. Uh, as mentioned, amazing pass protection. Honestly, easily in other drafts, if the wide receiver depth wasn't so heavy, easily I think could have been like a late first rounder. And with the
Hmm.
guards that they signed in the offseason, I think that is a great move for Carolina. And I think Bryce Young has less and less excuses going into the 2024 season with the amount of talent that they have.
Yep. Yeah, they definitely hit on a lot of big marks on the draft too. Also, like you mentioned, getting Xavier Leggett. I think Jonathan Brooks is a great get for Carolina. I wouldn't be surprised if he does take over the backfield at some point within by midseason. You hit on key points in one of our podcasts where the path to getting a lot of carries and the path to getting a lot of playing time is pass protection, and Jonathan Brooks has that. And the guy was a stud for those
And
10 games that
and
he was. Yeah.
yeah, and like I said, it's proven the top two running backs taken in any draft, whether it's in the first round or second round, they play immediately. So I think that's a good precursor to the fact. And to your point, I actually think he ends up being the starter as of day one.
Day
Wow.
one.
Well, it's interesting. I was looking at the rankings again. Fantasy Pros, they have him ranked right now as 52nd running back.
That's what.
They have Yeah, that was
Crazy.
I
Yeah.
was shocked. They have Blake Corum at 43, which was like, how do they have him over? But they have player like obviously Miles Sanders is above him. They have AJ Dillon above him, which that
Wild.
doesn't make sense. Ty Chandler,
Yeah.
Keandre Miller, Ezekiel Elliott, who doesn't have a team right now. Blake Corum, as I said, they had Trey Benson over him, which
I
was
saw that too.
again I think a little weird. I know
Yeah.
that look with the Cardinals, there's only one guy in the
Hmm.
pecking order, and I myself, when I first saw it, when I was confused, I forgot that they did have Chuba Hubbard as well. So to your point, I don't think he's the day one starter because I think they're going to go with Chuba Hubbard. I think the guy who's the odd man out, who had a terrible season last year, was Miles Sanders. I wouldn't even be shocked if he was cut
Same.
um,
Yeah.
at some point before the season starts. I wouldn't That would not shock me at all because I think that backfield is going to get
Yeah,
a little crowded now that they drafted him. I think it was very telling that they drafted him in the
yeah,
second round. So I think Miles Sanders is the odd man out there. So I think he's going to shoot up from 52 in these rankings. That's for sure. Like you said, pass protection, all around back. He can catch and speed. I don't think I'm skeptical to think that he's going to take over or he's going to be his backfield day one. But to Fab's point, closer to midseason, I think he does this. He's just going to take over, and that's going to be the
yeah.
guy.
We see that often, right? Too, especially with rookie running backs and a crowded backfield. It takes a time. It takes a little bit of a few games for them to get their footing. But a guy like Jonathan Brooks, and I know we covered him in the previous pod. I was super high on him. I really liked the way that like he ran in college, and I really liked the fact that he came from a very good a very good program, and he was just super explosive, super elusive for a guy his size. Again, the pass protection too. Like if you can rely on a rookie that early on, I think it's only a matter of time until he starts eating into the carries of the other backs on the team, regardless of how long they've been there. Plus, you don't spend a second round draft capital on a running back and not start them at some point. And I think it's going to be sooner than later. I
Exactly.
think first day one. Listen, if it happens, great. I think that's a little bit too soon, but it could happen. You never know. But I think more like, let's say, like, after the first quarter, second quarter of the season, you're going to see the guy taking on much more carries. And if it helps Bryce Young that he's there and giving protection, yeah, for sure it's going to happen a lot sooner than others. Nak, you mentioned another couple other running backs over there. Like, who do you think is going to have another running back impact for the fantasy football season?
Yeah, so I did mention Trey Benson. I think
Love Trey
that would
Winston.
be my first
Yeah.
pick. Yeah, I love his
Mhm.
game for sure. Connor is definitely getting older, and he's a lot more injury prone, as we saw again the last couple of years, where he's missed a chunk of the season. So I think realistically he can come in and take over for Connor and be fantasy relevant. Probably like I said, more later on into the season. Connor, there's no jeopardy of him losing his starting job, so I don't see that happening at all. And another guy, look, with the Rams, Kyron also missed a few games last year, right? With injury, he's kind of injury prone. Blake Corum, I think, could slot in there and take care of the backfield while away. A little bit, I think, a little bit less fantasy value on Corum because Kyron is the real lead guy over there. But I think Arizona is probably trying. This is the pick that Arizona took to kind of take a little bit pressure off of Connor and not give him all
Yeah.
of those carries,
Yeah.
reduce his workload, keep him a little fresh, so maybe he doesn't get injured. So uh, maybe Connor gets a little bit more touchdowns, but this guy, I think he's going to have a nice role in the offense for sure, especially young offense now, young wide receiver group as well. So I think he's going to have a nice
I would
season.
just push back a little bit. I get what you're saying about Quorum, but I looked into it. McVay coach teams, Rams teams over the past 7 years. The leading rusher has averaged 218 rushes per year. So the way I see it, typically McVay does favor lead backs. I think two,
But they get hurt, right? That's
yeah,
due to
exactly.
injury.
That's
That's
what I
due to
mean. I
injury.
push back just to a little bit where I don't think it's a split backfield. I think it's Kyron's backfield unless he gets injured. But I've seen a lot of places where it's like doom and gloom for Kyron. I'm not super high on him because I don't think he's as talented as some of the other running backs. I think he has a very good situation, most noted by his leading 3.5 yards before contact, which is absolutely absurd. But
It's a very good
I
point,
think the
sir.
Rams typically McVay prefers. I think McVay prefers like a one person backfield, not just Kyron but Cam Akers too. Like Todd Gurley, they've
Yep.
had bad luck with injuries in that backfield.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. I'm not going to deny that at all. I do like Trey Benson a lot, though. And just to touch back up on that, I know James Conner is like he's the prototypical RB2 in every single draft. Like no one likes to draft him. He's not a super sexy name, but the guy every week he gets you points, he gets you carries, he gets you yards, he gets you some catches. He'll get the touchdown every now and then. He never goes away. However, solid,
Solid
yeah. Like
season last year.
he's not a nice name to look at necessarily when he's on your roster, but he's going to get you those 15 fantasy points, those 12 fantasy points. But he is now hitting the. There's always that narrative when running backs get to a certain age. He's hitting that 28-year plateau where apparently statistics do show that running backs start to drop off a little bit when it hits that point. Maybe not this year. Trey Benson might necessarily take over the backfield, but it could be something definitely going forward. Again, it could be one of those guys that carve out more of a role through the midway of the season. And Connor has his injury history as well. I like Trey Benson a lot, though. Like I mentioned earlier on, and I'm going to continue to repeat this. Like I think Arizona really had a nice draft, and their team is going to be very exciting going forward. Um, but we're going to end that discussion for running backs and jump into what was probably the most exciting part of the draft, in my opinion, for wide receivers. Uh, it's been hasn't been this deep in a long time. Pause. 7 wide receivers taken in the first round, 10 wide receivers taken in the first 37 picks. Wide receivers were expected to go early and often, and they did not disappoint. My favorite landing spot for a wide receiver, and I'm gonna forego the top names just because like everyone's been talking about.
Please don't
No, no,
say
no. I
Malik
said top
Neighbors.
names. He's a top name. Clearly, Nak's not paying attention, guys. He's got his championships plugged in his ears. Um,
It's a
At least
I,
I have
I
some.
got I got in his ears. Um, yeah, Lad McConkey. We're talking about the white wide receivers. Lad McConkey going to the Chargers, I think, was a very very good. What did I say? What did I say? I think it was a great
White.
white. I think it was a great pickup for the Chargers. I think it gives Justin Herbert a really good weapon because that guy runs routes very seamlessly. His route running is pristine, and that was the big take on him coming out of the draft too. It's going to really give a better avenue and a better option for Justin Herbert, who after the departure of Keelan Allen going to the Bears. Quentin Johnson didn't exactly leave a lot to be desired. Austin Eckler is also gone too. So a lot of the pass catching options won't be there necessarily anymore. Also, Gerald Everett also went um, to the Bears as well. So like you
Yes.
wonder who's he going to be throwing to. Lam McConkey comes in now. This guy's going to be probably a PPR machine, I would think, right? If you're looking for some PPR options, and I know we talk about the white guy, PPR, blah blah blah, slot guy, whatever, but like reality is that a lot of targets are going to go towards him just by virtue of having no other options around. And I think that's going to be very interesting for him from a fantasy perspective. Looking at maybe a wide receiver 3 or worst case 4, but looking at like a decent wide receiver 3, they could probably give you some points coming out of the gate right away. And I really like the situation that he's landing in right now. We always talk about fantasy football ability for a lot of these players, but a lot of it also has to come to the opportunity. And this guy has a bunch of it right now. Another guy that I still like, but I don't know if the opportunity is going to be there. Mind you, there's a lot of flux right now. Is my boy Slick Rick there, Ricky Pershall? He went to the Niners. There's a lot of stuff going on with Debo and Ayuk, and not really sure exactly how that's going to play out. But this guy was a dog for the Gators. A lot of his one-handed catches that you see the highlight reels going around. Super, super fantastically athletic player. Again, the Niners continue to draft really good wide receivers, so it's going to be another option for them too. Don't know how he's going to be able to carve out a role just yet in that offense. I think there's a lot that has to be figured out yet. But obviously, going forward, great, great draft pick, super highly talented wide receiver. Um, I want to flip it over now, Knack. I want to get your take quickly. Which wide receiver, I guess not named again, I want to stick maybe not necessarily mention the top guys there, but which wide receiver is you think is going to have a bright breakout fantasy year from a rookie? And why is it the guy that the Steelers drafted?
Yeah, guys. Look, Roman Wilson, drafted in the third round. If you just look back at what the Steelers have done drafting wide receivers in the third round since, let's say, 2010, they had Emmanuel Sanders. In 2019, it was Deontay Johnson. Sorry, go back to 2009. It was Mike Wallace. All they do is find gems in the later rounds. This guy caught 12 touchdown passes last year in a run first offense. Where is he going? He's going to a run first offense. I think he directly takes Deontay Johnson's spot. Um, Obviously, Pickens is the de facto number one. No one is debating that. But after that, there's really no one there. They signed um, Quez, John, someone from the Eagles that I have no idea who it is. There's Calvin Johnson that they drafted, Calvin Austin, excuse me, that they drafted a little bit later, a couple years back, and Jefferson that they Van Jefferson that they signed. So there's really no name to be desired there. So I think he easily could have a sneaky good fantasy year in that offense. I don't like I said, run first offense at Michigan and
Yeah.
caught 12 TDs, right? With your boy Fab JJ McCarthy. So I think it's a perfect fit. And like I said, they have a really good track record of drafting and finding talent in the later rounds. And I think he easily makes a fantasy impact year one.
Yeah, no, I typically the Steelers are pretty good at supporting two wide receivers, Russell Wilson as well. We've seen in the past in Seattle, not so much in Denver, but Denver was a bit of a wash in my opinion. So I don't think you're wrong in that sense too. It's going to be interesting for sure, and definitely could have a breakout potential too. Later pick, could it turn into a Puka Nakua? Who knows? I hope not, because I don't like the Steelers. Raj, we're gonna pivot over real quick. Brock Bowers went to the Raiders. Your Raiders. They didn't take Penix. They didn't get the Penix, but they got the Brock. How do you feel about that with Gardner Minshew throwing to him? Is it going to be Minshew mania all over Brock Bowers or what?
If I hear Minshew,
This
God,
this team's weird because the timeline, like if you look at the skill position players, it doesn't match like what they're trying to do at the quarterback position. Like Brock Bowers, Michael Meyer, Jacoby Myers, Devonte Adams, Zamir White look good. I love the pick. I think a lot of people do like the pick. They went best player available instead of they had
Yeah,
needs at
pick was great.
offensive line. Obviously, they had needs at quarterback, but the pick is fantastic. Luke Getzey, the offensive coordinator for the Raiders, who was the OC for the Bears, used 12 personnel, so one running back, two tight ends, the seventh most times in 2023. So I think they're going to support both tight ends. I actually think Michael Meyer and Brock Bowers could have really interesting seasons. Um, what's that guy's name? What's that? Hunter Renfro. Hunter Renfro is not there anymore, so that was one of the slot receivers
Sure.
that was with the Raiders.
Yep.
Jacoby Myers and Devonte Adams could slot in out wide. I think you'll see a lot of Brock Bowers in the slot and Michael Meyer at tight end. So both guys, I think, are going to potentially eat as long as Gardner Minshew can be at least. I think he needs to be better than what he was with the Colts. Now it looks like it's definitely going to be Minshew. They didn't draft a quarterback, so they're going to rely on him.
Mm-hmm.
But the talent is there, man. Bowers, he averaged like 8.5 yards per reception in terms of yard after catch. Like that's wild. Yeah, like
Yeah,
he
it's
is
insane.
a yak
It's insane.
monster. Ball in his hand. He's
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
running back. So I could see him even being lining up at fullback, lining up at running back. He's gonna be used. He's gonna be a really fun player to have. Even he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be overdrafted because he's so fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the Raiders are that frustrating team that have talent everywhere except for the most important position, right? Like if you really look at it, like the defense was looking really
Yeah.
good
Mm-hmm.
last year. The offense, bro, there's weapons everywhere. You just mentioned a handful of them, and now they just added another one. It's just the frustrating. If I was a fan, I'd just be so frustrated that you've built
Yeah,
this
I agree with you.
great like nucleus,
It
and it's like
Yeah.
it's so annoying that we have to trot out like a Gardner Minshew or an Aiden
it
O'Connell out there, like or O'Donnell, whatever the hell his name is. It's just so it's so annoying that we have to.
Yeah.
yeah
No, I definitely get that.
yeah
I definitely get
yeah
that
I
too. But
agree with you.
it's at the same time you got to
It,
figure that like they're obviously building something apart from what their quarterback is, right? They're building something regardless of who's at quarterback for now. And like you said, Raj, they're getting best player available. They have depth at the other parts of their offense as well as other parts of their defense too. It, I mean, they probably tried. I think that throughout the draft, they tried to trade up and get one of their quarterbacks to be to get one of their quarterbacks available, like to fill in that stopgap because they know Gardner Minshew's not the guy. They know it's not Aiden O'Connell. They know that, but at the same time, they also got to be realistic of what's available to them too. Brock Bowers has been touted as that generational player. There will be other drafts coming up too. They have time to address that, and also you figure if the offense has all of these weapons and the defense is playing well, that's an attractive spot for a free agent quarterback in the future, right? Like there's a reason why Kirk Cousins went to
Yeah.
Atlanta.
It,
Just using that as the most recent example, so I think. Go ahead.
Sorry, Fab. It just feels like they're wasting a year. Like there's a lot of talent around them, but the timeline's different. Like Devontae is going to be 32 soon.
Yeah,
Jacoby's not that young. It just feels like they're wasting a year where like this is the time to go after. Even last year, I felt like they should have gone after a quarterback. So I get it if the price was too high. Maybe they didn't want to pay that much for Penix, or they just didn't foresee the Falcons drafting him at 8. But it feels like they're wasting a lot of the best years of a Devonte Adams, Jacoby Myers, and so on and so forth.
hard to disagree with you on that. Knack, Kyle Pitts or Brock Bowers, who are you drafting first?
Oh man, that's
Because that could be a realistic spot for
that's
anybody,
tough.
right?
Wow, wow, on the spot too, like that. Look, like I said, I don't. I like the QB better in Atlanta for sure, man. But I like the player in Bowers 100%. Look, they have them Pitts ranked ninth and Bowers 12th, so just a
Yeah.
tier under. They have Bowers ranked right after Ferguson and Dallas Goddard. Man, look, if I had to answer right this second without seeing anything, Goddard. If I had to really
Yeah,
answer, if I
what
had
the
to
hell was
I
answer
that?
was
right
about to
now,
say,
look, I'm gonna say Pitts. Pitts is getting
nobody listening
Pitts.
to this pod knows who this player is.
Pitts is getting one more shot without a running.
Go day,
Yeah,
chow day.
I'll give him one last shot just because Bowers is a rookie. I'll take the established vet before. Again, I don't like Minshew. Where in Vegas, I really don't. I dislike it a lot.
Raj, you look like you had something on the tip of your tongue there.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with Pitts or Bowers. But yeah, I can't do Cal Pitts. I'm totally
Yeah,
out on Cal Pitts. But a sneaky tight end potential, Theo Johnson from the Giants, Fab.
Yeah, I know. I saw
Was
that.
looking
I
up
know.
on him,
Yeah,
6'6",
yeah, I
six
saw.
six, 260,
Yeah,
40-inch vert,
yeah. And now
4.5,
I have to remind you who our
740.
quarterback is. Are you kidding me? I have to remind you now who our quarterback is. Never mind. It was nice. He's good. He's a Canadian boy. I'm happy for him.
He had no quarterback at Penn State. Apparently, the offense was absolute trash, but a lot of scouts were high on him, and he's one of those weight room warrior tight ends. So
Yeah,
let's see. I'm hoping
Did,
that he can.
I didn't. I didn't.
yeah,
Darren
did he?
Waller, I
That was
think
about to
officially
ask. Did he
retired.
Yeah.
officially? I don't think it's official
Uh,
yet.
Yeah,
I didn't see it
no, it's not
officially happen,
official.
but
But he divorced. Him and Kelsey Plum got divorced. So I guess there's a lot of stuff happening in his personal life that's just making him question everything right now. So you gotta. I don't know. Like I hope he stops. I hope he figures out what he has to figure out. Quite frankly, just because I feel like the GM and the head coach are like being held hostage to a degree. But I don't know. It's a bit of mind you, the Giants probably know more than what we know if they're drafting a tight end in the fourth round. And they didn't have a lot of picks, this draft. It's not as if they had like a lot of assets to throw around. So they
like
probably,
5.
yeah, which is not that much. So you figure if they're using one of their picks on a tight end like that, figure they're probably expecting Waller to retire. So that just does make the pick a lot more interesting and more exciting. Listen, we'll see. But it's a good sleeper pick, though. It's a good sleeper pick for sure. Mind you, I think I would still take Kyle Pitts over Bowers. To go back to that question, yeah,
you guys,
I think Pitts are gonna. bounce back season
Did you
for
guys
sure.
see the Eagles made 9 trades during the draft? Up, down, up, down, up, down, and they quietly
Dude,
had
the
like a really, really good draft. Again,
Amazing
two
draft.
years in a
they're
row.
I'm so pissed, man. Yeah, like they hit on so many good picks,
And why didn't
man.
the Cowboys draft a running back? Like, is there a reason? Like, they're really putting all their eggs in Ezekiel's basket? Like, I just don't
Dude,
like
fuck do I
I think
know.
they're
like
gonna. I
not
think they're
even
gonna trade for
why not
someone.
draft someone? Like, I'm just curious with what the roster is. Like, I just
But there were so many good running backs
Do you think
available
Jerry
later on
Jones
in the
just didn't know?
draft. Jerry Jones is turning to Al Davis, eh? That senile old man who's just making bad
Yeah,
picks right
definitely.
now. Like it's
I
not
have
good for
never
the
condoned
organization.
owner GM. Like, you just can't do both, man. Like, you just can't do
No,
both. It's
zero.
not, especially at his age. Like, dude, the GM is out and
Yeah,
about, and like this guy gets all his information from scouts and then makes the decision himself without actually seeing anyone. He's not out in the field. He's not at pro days and stuff like that. Is he? Is he really like on play?
No,
Is
yeah,
he
he
on?
was.
Is he on as
well,
He was at the Senior
okay?
Bowl. He
But
was
is
at
he?
the
I'm
Senior
saying,
Bowl.
is he
He was at
there,
the Senior
boots on
Bowl.
the ground all the time, like hands
No,
on?
no.
He's
There's
not. So he's
also like
relying on other people, and he's making
no.
the final call. Like, how do you run a team like that?
There's a lot of nepotism too in that
Huge
front office,
ego.
eh?
He's got a
Like he has
huge
his
ego.
son, he has his son-in-law, he has all that stuff over there. And you have to figure there's a lot of those that thought process and the hive mind mentality runs deep. And you kind of figure that it might not be the best thing to have everyone speaking the same language all the time. You want fresh idea, you want fresh minds in there, and every single one of them is a Jones. So it's like, do you want to continue to keep up with the Joneses? Probably not. Hey, Robbie Scalia, hope you're listening.
nice,
Thank you. Anytime.
nice.
Appreciate
That's
that.
great.
I do what I
Nailed it.
can. I do what I can.
Nailed it.
Thank you. So, guys, this was a fantastic episode. We're running. We hit every single topic. We hit every single big plug right now. One question I want to ask you guys right now, off the cup, right off the bat, Raj, who's your offensive rookie of the year candidate in your opinion? First name comes to mind.
Caleb.
Caleb, Knack.
Yeah, that's like the easy answer. I'll go Marvin Harrison.
Cool. Malik Neighbors for me. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very
I
much.
knew he
Don't
was gonna
forget
do
your
that.
offensive rookie of the year. You
I
heard it
knew it.
here first. This has been episode 6, post draft. I'm Fabio. That's Raj. That's Knack.
Deal.
Guys, be friends. Be nice to everybody around you. Okay. Be kind out there. Okay. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow, share, comment, like, all that good stuff. And we'll catch you next week. Peace.
Later.
Bye.